Hammer is the single most important partnership between labor and management in the country.
This is the nation's premier hands-on training center for worker safety.
I started working Hammer in 1991, and at that time I worked with the local emergency response community as well as Hamtech and the Central Washington building trades. We all wanted one training center to serve all of our needs. Sam Volpentest was busy lobbying Hammer on the Hill, and he needed more strength, and so he asked that we get the internationals on board. Sheet metal came on board first, and then we just reached out to Washington, D.C. I went with Jay Rhodes and Jim Worthington until we lined up 12 international labor unions.
It was my job to go with Karen to D.C. to help her get into the international offices and into the AFL-CIO. Jim Worthington helped us back there a lot, and we'd go back in different meetings with the international presidents.
The House of Labor felt that we had two problems. There's one, how do we protect the workers on the Hanford site, dealing with hazardous materials every day? And then how do we take care of the community on the transportation corridor? So we covered not just the workers at Hanford, but we covered the emergency responders. Hammer was actually in my opinion, was way beyond its time.
Hammer's the first. It's a complete cooperative between the employers, the government, and the unions.
It is truly an honor to be here today to celebrate this historic occasion. And it is historic, not only because we are dedicating the finest worker safety training facility in the country, but because the moment marks a turning point in the way that organized labor and management do business together in the United States. As chairman of the Hammer Steering Committee, it is my responsibility and pleasure to preside over one of the most unique alliances between labor and management in the history of our country.
The retention rate is higher because of the training worker program, because of the people that come in from the field and they recognize their co-workers. They're up there, they're teaching it, they know it.
I'm very proud of Hammer. I'm proud to have been a very small part of the genesis of this project. It's the only thing like it in the world. If you ever sat in a Hammer class, you'd understand why it is so unique.
When I first came out to the Hammer site, it was really nothing more than just a vacant field. And as a building trades iron worker, I'm proud that I had a hand in construction some of the first facilities out here. And I'm also proud to say that the building trades as a whole helped to bring this facility in on time and under budget.
The partnership that has made this Hammer facility a dream come true, that the tribes can have a part of it, can be a part of it. And the local communities, the states, the universities, the unions, and the government agencies. An unimaginable alliance.
Goals of the VPP is worker involvement. Hammer was the birthplace of worker involvement. Workers training workers, and workers deeply involved in safety at this site.
Since the tragedy of 9/11, Hammer's potential role in support to the country has become magnified. Not only is Hammer one of the best places to conduct training and deploy new technology, but it also has the diverse and focused partnership to address the training needs of workers and emergency responders.
Welcome to Hammer, where training is real as it gets. Far too many workers have been injured and killed in the construction business. My main responsibility, the number one obligation I have, is to make sure that these workers go home safe and sound every single night. And that's what makes Hammer so important. The worker training program at Hammer is a model for the rest of the world. It's almost a common knowledge, and it was accepted that people are going to get hurt and killed, and it was just part of the everyday business. Programs like Hammer have changed that thinking, and it's not the right way to be, and these construction workers deserve the best and finest training they can receive, and that's what they get here at Hammer.
Our main goal has always been to improve safety for construction workers at the Hanford site. The idea was to build a training program to meet the construction workers' needs, focusing on providing clear expectations and consistent training. We were also looking to right-size training because we knew if we undertrained them, we were going to leave them vulnerable. And if we overtrained them, it was going to devalue the training for the workers. So to reduce redundant training, we developed an equivalency process that has now produced over 3,300 individual equivalencies, resulting in $4.6 million in total cost avoidance.
I'm going to borrow some comments that I heard from our labor brother, Leo Gerard, the president for the steelworkers. I was listening to him, and he was sharing a story about the loss of a member that came from his hometown. And it impacted him pretty deeply. And his comments really struck me. He said that we had worked hard, we had a good collective bargaining agreement, we had a living wage, we had benefits. For what? He wasn't around to enjoy those anymore. So he really set the importance of safety in my mind for labor. We have to get our members home. Everything is lost if we're not successful.
We discussed extensively the vapors issue. This has to be one of the most complicated issues that I've ever been around in the 40 years that I've been around Hanford as both a worker and a union representative. I just wanted to re-emphasize that labor is steadfast in the fact that Hammer needs to stay with a prime contractor and not with a subcontractor. We have come a long way with Hanford cleanup, but it is far from finished. The work left to do is more complex, challenging, and unfortunately more dangerous. Our workers need Hammer and the support of this partnership more than ever. We have to have strong, stable leadership at Hanford. Otherwise, our workers get hurt and the work does not get done. Labor will continue to work with the department to cement Hammer's vision through collaboration and open, honest communication. That is the Hammer model.
With that training, the safety and the health of the people that work out on site all over is beneficial. We need it, we have to have it for the safety and health of the workers so they can go home to their families at night.
The Hammer Training Facility is instrumental and essential to the work being performed out here at Hanford Nuclear Reservation. The magnitude of the training goes above and beyond and exceeds the industry standards to ensure the safety of our workers.
Especially near and dear to my heart is the Hammer Steering Committee. There's nothing like this anywhere. This is the greatest example of ownership, partnership, and joint labor management, joint state, local, and county government interaction, the tribes from the Nez Perce and Yakima and all the nations, the Native American tribes that are involved. There's nothing like this anywhere, and we've been pushing for the last 17 years I've been involved in this to emulate this and put this across the complex.
World-class training facility at Hanford as a model for the DOE complex. The partnership includes NADC's shared common value of concern for worker safety. Again, as we celebrate 20 years of dedicated assembly, we need to look to the future. It was DOE working with this committee that established the Hanford site-wide safety standards, and it was the DOE that has put a large part of the site-wide training in their contracts. This model takes advantage of Hammer, its capability to deliver efficient, centralized, high-quality, hands-on training that capitalize on the economies of scale.
I know the value of Hammer, of lifting up examples of partnership. This is really the gold standards.
Nothing is more important than worker safety. Our organization has made it a mission that everyone goes home intact every day. Hammer's mission is to save lives and avert disasters. But for everyone that executes that mission, it's a calling. Hammer is one of only 19 headliners in best practices. We were also recognized for best practices in safety training, worker trainers, and site-wide safety standard. Hammer has grown to be a critical resource for the department and the nation.
It's not often that a small group of dedicated people come together and stay together to protect health and safety of our workers. In a Hammer last fall, I saw the value of what the Hammer team brings to the Hanford cleanup mission. It's been said that they can outperform any organization across the DOE complex. Hammer's collective approach ensures meaningful worker involvement, standardized training with workers, training workers. It truly is a best-in-class model. We have to keep this partnership of collaboration and cooperation going for another 25 years, and another 25 years after that, and another 25 years after that. There are some people here that have dedicated their careers to Hammer that I need to recognize. We have 4 managers whose Hammer careers are way past 20 years. They are the foundation of Labor Management Partnership led by Karen McGinnis, the director. Special note is Pat Aldridge, respected for her groundbreaking leadership, building the best worker trainer program in a complex. As far as contract changes, let's build on the best-in-class model. We will get the job done, no doubt about it.
It is amazing what Hammer folks have taught me through 22 years of service. Hammer is truly the best practice in safety and health training and a national resource. I represent workers that do some of the most hazardous work in the world. Their health and safety is always number one in my mind, and that's why it's time for us to take Hammer and introduce it all over the world. This is such a great organization, and we need to take this model and take it everywhere we can. We need to work together and promote Hammer. And that's my goal in the coming years. We're going to work with DOD. We're going to work with every agency in the government to make sure to ring out loud that everybody knows who Hammer is.
It has to start with an idea, and the idea was Hammer and what you created and what we've modeled our programs after. So for that, on behalf of the whole governing board of presidents, on behalf of all the building trades, I thank you for helping to set the template. Almost everything that we're doing at the building trades department is trying to create and stand up models of what you've done here for the last 20 years. So for the work that you've done to help us see the way of what can be accomplished, I want to thank you.
The work that we do can be very dangerous, and each one of us want every worker to come home safe from the job every single day.
Work sites are often dangerous across the jurisdiction of the Department of Energy, and Hanford has special dangers. We can never forget how back in the early days of the cleanup, iron worker Miles Fisher fell to his death and Lou Beatty was scalded to death. Quite frankly, I don't think you could find a better training program to protect workers than the one at Hammer.
The work of Mission Support Alliance as the manager of the Hammer Federal Training Center for the Department of Energy is incredibly, incredibly important. And I'd say you're a model for our entire country. Hammer is the single most important partnership between labor and management in the country. So let's work together to make it even bigger and to make it even better, because truly our lives depend on it.
In the early 90s, we came together to build Hammer. It took several years, a tremendous amount of collaboration and commitment from labor, TRIDAC, states of Washington, Oregon, Department of Energy. Everyone who was interested in worker health and safety came together to get Hammer built. Labor has always been a strong leader in Hammer. The general presidents have chaired the Hammer Steering Committee. They have ensured that Secretary Hazel O'Leary's commitment to operate Hammer as a partnership. I look back over my 26 years with Hammer, and I'm astounded at the support of the general presidents. I'm astounded at how far our staff and organization has come. And I'm astounded at how many of my team have stayed together over 20 years to make sure this facility got built and has operated in a world-class manner and in a safe manner. I feel confident with the leadership of General President Eric Dean, General President Dan Stepano, and President Jimmy Hart. That's the leadership we need in Washington, D.C. to continue this amazing partnership. On the ground at Hammer, I have tremendous support from my HamTech and my building trades workers. I have safety reps, training liaisons, training directors from both HamTech and Central Washington Building Trades. Hammer has a very strong management team standing by for the next 20 years. I'd like to conclude with a strong thank you to the general presidents that have stood by us, to labor in general that stood by us. Achieving the single most important partnership of labor and management in this country today is a diamond moment for me. Sam always said, you got to work with people, you got to take care of people. That was Sam's dream, to make Hammer a world-class facility. We've achieved that dream. Sam's dream was Hammer, a dream come true.
Hammer is the single most important partnership between labor and management in the country.